Let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this. How many times have you started something with full energy, full belief, full fire in your heart, and then slowly, quietly you stopped? No big reason, no big failure, you just stopped. Maybe it was a new habit, maybe it was a dream you were chasing, maybe it was a skill you were learning, maybe it was a version of yourself you were trying to become. And one day, you just put it down and told yourself, maybe later. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe this just isn't for me. But here is the truth that nobody tells you, the truth that changes everything. You didn't quit because you were weak. You quit because you were close. Closer than you ever knew. This is the story of a boy named Aryan, and this story might just be your story too. Aryan was 24 years old. He lived in a small apartment in a busy city. Not rich, not poor, just ordinary. He had a job that paid his rent, a phone that filled his evenings, and dreams that visited him every night and disappeared every morning. From the outside, Aryan looked fine. He smiled when people asked how he was doing and said, "I'm good, just busy." But inside, Aryan was exhausted. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, but the kind that comes from carrying something heavy for a very long time. You see, Aryan had a dream. He wanted to build something of his own, a small business, a creative project, something that was his, something that would make him feel alive, not just existing, but living. He had written the idea in a notebook 3 years ago. 3 years, and the notebook still sat on his desk, half written, half abandoned. Every few months, Aryan would open it again, feel the excitement again, start again, and then stop again. The cycle was always the same: start, hope, struggle, doubt, quit. Over and over, like a wheel spinning in the same place. And every time he quit, a small voice inside him whispered, "See, you're just not that kind of person. Some people are built for success. You are not one of them." Slowly, Aryan began to believe that voice. One evening, Aryan sat alone in his apartment. The city was loud outside, but inside it was very quiet. He opened his laptop and looked at the project he had started 6 weeks ago. This time, he had really tried. He had woken up early, skipped weekends with friends, watched tutorials, read articles, taken notes. For 6 weeks, he had fought, and for the first time in years, he felt like he was becoming someone. But that evening, he hit a wall. The project was not working the way he had imagined. The results were slow, the progress felt invisible, and his mind started talking. "This is taking too long. Other people are already ahead of you. What if you put in all this effort and still fail? What if people laugh at you? What if you're just wasting your time?" The thoughts came fast, one after another, and Aryan felt something familiar creeping in, that heavy feeling, the feeling that said, "Just stop. It's easier to stop." He closed the laptop and told himself he was just taking a break, but deep inside he knew he was about to quit again. He lay on his bed staring at the ceiling, the same ceiling he had stared at 100 times before. And for the first time, he didn't feel angry or motivated. He just felt tired, tired of trying, tired of failing, tired of being the person who always almost makes it. The next morning, Aryan went for a walk. He didn't know why, he just needed to get out, away from the apartment, away from the laptop, away from his own thoughts. He walked through a small park near his building. It was early, quiet, the air still cool, and there, on an old wooden bench, sat an elderly man watching something on the ground. Aryan looked. It was a small plant growing through a crack in the concrete path, tiny, fragile, almost invisible, but alive, pushing through solid stone. The old man smiled and said softly, "Beautiful, isn't it?" Aryan replied, "I guess, but it doesn't look like much." The old man nodded and said, "Not yet. But do you know how long this plant has been trying to break through that stone? Months. Pushing every single day, millimeter by millimeter." From the outside, it looked like nothing was happening, but underground, the roots were growing stronger, until one morning the stone cracked and the plant came through. Then the old man looked at Aryan and said, "The moment you want to quit is almost never the moment of failure. It is almost always the moment just before the breakthrough." Those words stayed with Aryan. Sitting on that bench, he realized something powerful every time he had quit. It was at the hardest point, when doubt was loudest and progress felt invisible. He had always thought that feeling meant stop, but what if it meant the opposite? What if that pressure was the sign that something was about to break open? Something shifted inside him. Not dramatically, just quietly. He stood up, looked at the tiny plant, and whispered, "Okay, one more day." He went home, opened his laptop, and worked. Not perfectly, not fast, but he worked. The next day, he worked again, and the day after that. Slowly, the wall he had been pushing against started to crack. 3 weeks later, something clicked. Then another breakthrough, and another, not a miracle, just the result of not stopping. Aryan understood something deeply. Every meaningful thing you build has a moment that feels like failure, a moment so uncomfortable that quitting feels logical. But that moment is not your enemy. It is the test to see if you will take one more step. The people who succeed are not the most talented. They are the ones who stay a little longer, try one more time, and don't stop at the door. So whatever you have put down, whatever dream is sitting unfinished, it is not too late. You are not too far behind. You are simply someone who hasn't yet walked through the door that looks like a wall. The breakthrough is one step ahead, so take that step now, because the stone is already cracking, you just can't see it yet.